My name is Steve Keane. I write the Eddie Crane Pool Society blog. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight here at the Queens Baseball Convention. And we also want to thank our sponsors, SNY, for putting all this together. And man to my left needs no introduction. We all know Mookie Wilson.
And I'm nobody.
He was probably to the game.
And I'm Ed Marcus, otherwise known as Rusty Jr. On Twitter, I'm known as LeGrand Rusty. Thank you. I wrote for Real Dirty Mets at Metsmerize, and there's going to be an announcement of who I'm going to be writing for pretty soon. So I guess let's get this started. You, sir, are one of my first memories of a Met fan, probably around 80, 81, seeing you on a very bad team, but you're stealing bases, you're base hitting, and you just in the field amazed me. You know, whenever you were up, you were just pure electric. I mean, but when I did some research into you, I did not know that when you were in high school, you were actually a pitcher.
Yes. Yeah, very good pitcher, too.
What made you actually go into becoming an outfielder?
Well, actually, I was pitching in high school, and I actually went to college as a pitcher. And I was in junior college pitching. I won't run the stats by you because they will be astounding, my stats. So I'm not going to get into that. But I signed to go to the University of South Carolina as a pitcher. And we went through the whole, fall ball and all that kind of stuff. And we got to spring, and the guy who's playing center field actually got hurt. And the coach asked me to play center field because in junior college I pitched one game, played the outfield the next game. So he knew I was a pitcher. So he asked me to play center field, and I told him okay. And probably that's how I ended up in center field, just because of that. I mean, I love pitching, and like I said before, I thought I was pretty good at it. But I think it's a good choice by being outfield.
I think so too. But your coach was a very famous baseball player, right?
My coach was Joan Raines, he was a catcher for the Phillies, and so we had a lot in common. He was a good man.
I want to congratulate you. I see that you're going to be honored at the Thurman Munson Award.
Yes.
Get the Thurman Munson Award. That's a great dinner. That's every year. Mrs. Munson is there. It's a great honor also to be given that award. Just to bank what Ed was saying, in college, and you played for Bobby Richardson. Was he
well, actually, no. Bobby was the coach the year before. He had left the school the year I got there, so Bobby was already gone. So,
did he recruit you to?
That's a kind of a weird story. All right, I don't know if Bobby knew I was going to be a Met because Bobby was Yankee.
Yeah.
And he maybe saw Met on me for some reason, but Bobby didn't want me.
Really?
Bobby didn't want me to play. So I ended up not going when Bobby was there. When Bobby left, then I went there.
Well, it's a good thing Bobby left.
Yes, great thing Bobby left.
But after your college career, you're drafted by the Mets, drafted in '77. Now, the Met franchise at that time was really in some disarray. What was the feeling when you got the call from the Mets that you were drafted by the club?
And to be honest, the year before, I was more excited because I was drafted by the Dodgers. People don't know that. I was drafted by the Dodgers the year before, and I was drafted as a pitcher, believe it or not. And I didn't sign, so when the Mets did draft me the next year, I'll be honest with you, I knew absolutely nothing about the Mets. I knew absolutely nothing about the Mets, and because everybody knew something about the Dodgers because of Jackie Robinson, and if you watch baseball every Saturday, it was either the Dodgers or the Braves. That's all they saw where I grew up. Yeah. So, but the Mets drafted me. I was very shocked. Knew nothing about the organization, and I figured, I turned down one opportunity to play pro ball. Second time, you better take it. You never know if you get out again.
Exactly.
So, and I took it.
Well, talk about the transition from being a college baseball player, then turning pro, the minor leagues and starting off in some, really small towns and starting off in the lowest level of the minor leagues. How do you transition that as a college player to a professional?
But there are a couple things that you have to really be aware of. First of all, when you play in college ball, you only play in 3 days a week. Usually most of your games are on the weekends. But when you get to pro ball, it's every day. You do the same thing every day. You practice before every game, and it's travel. The minor leagues are really, really tough. I don't know if anyone here has been in the minor leagues, but let me tell you, man, that is a tough, tough life. And if you survive that, you're probably doing okay. The workouts is relentless. I mean, you do the same thing day in, day out, work on bunt plays, work on cutoffs and relays, you work on your bunting, you work on your throwing. And this is not once, 3 times a week. This is every day before every game. So the physical toll that your body takes is undescribable. And not to mention the mental toughness that you have to develop, because you have to deal with failure. Now, let's face it, if you guys have played high school baseball, you know, if you're a good athlete, you'll probably be the best guy on your team. You're the shortstop and the pitcher, you're the big hog. You're playing the multi. When you sign pro ball, everybody is good, and everybody's probably your equal. So now we have to deal with failure a lot of times. And I think that's a tough thing that guys have to deal with and adjust to. Even in college ball, college ball was easy for me. College ball was easy. I mean, look at college, I batted 400.
Yeah. 400.
Yeah,
400.
I haven't seen that anywhere. I don't know where my stat sheet see a 400.
You were like the Ted Williams of college baseball, right?
Yeah. I mean, I get hits and steal bases and with little effort at all. And when I got to pro ball, the first month or so, you got to think, well, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. And I think that happens a lot of kids coming out of college, go into pro ball. They have to understand that, it's not about your results right then. It's about the process, and it's learning how to get your talents and your skills, to translate into winning baseball. Right. And sometimes that's not always. You have to get the hit. You have to make that out. It's all about what you're going to do for the next day. Yeah.
Well, you made the transition. You were MVP of the International League.
Yeah.
Right? So when does it click in? When does it, especially then you get called up in September. Yeah. Joe Torre liked you.
Yeah, Joe Torre, yeah.
He liked you.
I did something Joe liked. I don't know what it was.
Well, he liked you enough to move Mazzilli out and put you in, which, okay. But when does it click in for you, for a guy like you say, you go from college, which you said was kind of easy, then minor leagues where mentally as well as physically, but now you're the MVP of the International League. Yeah. Now you get the call up. When does it click in to say, you know what, I belong here. This is what I'm good. Man, I'm good. I'm better. I'm as good as anybody. Yeah. When does that click in for a player?
It depends on the player. It's when you do something and you overcome some adversity. And for me, and I've told the story numerous of times, and it's one of my most memorable moments, because that moment was the moment that I knew I belonged. We play here in Shea, and I had made an error. We were playing St. Louis, and I knew the whole Tito Landon. We were losing. The score was actually tied, and we were playing like in the 9th inning, and Tito Landrum hit a fly ball to center field in daytime, Saturday day game, which you don't see much anymore day games, but but that's another story. We're getting to that later on, folks, about day games. But anyway, I had the sunglasses on. The old flip glasses. Everybody's got. They got the good stuff on. Now you don't take them off. You just, we didn't have that back then. And we were playing, the sun was out, and the ball was coming to me, and I'm going back for the ball. And on my way back, I'm cruising back. Now it's calm as, how calm I can be going back. And I went to flip the glasses down, and the glasses turned sideways on.
Oh, no.
And I missed the ball. Tito Landrum gets an inside the park home run. Puts one St. Louis up in the 9th inning. By a run. So we finally get the last out, but now we're losing. And we go back in the hit, and there was 2 outs. Frank Tavares. Anybody remember Frank Tavares? Shortstop? Yeah. Frank Tavares gets on base. I think he got a push bunt, gets on base, and I'm coming up to hit next. It's 2 outs. And the pitcher is Bruce Sutter. And we no one hit Bruce Sutter. And I get 2 strikes, and the next thing you know, he throws me that split or whatever you call it. I don't know what it is.
Knuckle curve.
What? That's what it was?
Knuckle
That's what
curve.
knuckle curve.
Knuckle curve.
Well, whatever it was, I couldn't hit it. But anyway, and I hit the home run for 2 runs to win the ball game. No one remembers that, but I do. I'll make sure you all know about it. Don't worry about it. And driving the winning run. And from that moment, look, I just made an error. Let her run in. The people are booing me, and you guys were booing me back then.
Not these people.
No, well, no.
The ones who don't come.
But back then, the Mets, you came to the ballpark waiting to see what was going to happen bad next. No, I'm serious, because as players, we were like that because the team was that bad. You didn't like me that day. But anyway, and when the game was over, and I sat in my locker, and I'm saying to myself, you belong. Yeah. I dropped the ball. The fans booed me because no one knew what a Mookie was. Who cares about that? But from that day on, I accept the fact that you're going to make some mistakes, and until you understand that you're going to lose sometime, even when you do things right, but it's what you do the next day.
Right.
That's when you know.
When you can put the failure behind you.
When you can do that, that's when you know you belong. And until you can do that, you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
When you came up, was there a player or a coach that just took you under his wing that mentored you?
No coach when I first came up, but the one guy that really, I kind of listened to him a lot. Well, 2 guys actually. Steve Henderson.
Oh yeah, Hendu.
Was the one guy, and he kind of took me because he was an outfielder also, and he would. I remember going into Chicago and stuff. And the people, anybody remember Bad Dude, John Stearns?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Everybody know John Stearns. Well, John Stearns did one thing for me that when I got called up, we was in Chicago, and he took me out. He took me out to eat. John Stearns. I mean, I don't know Stearns. He don't know me. I'm a rookie coming up. And he took us out to eat, and I thought that was one of the coolest things. I mean, they knew that we were coming to take their jobs. Yeah. Okay, folks. The team knew that these young guys were coming to take their jobs. So they had no right to be nice to us. I mean, I wasn't a catcher, don't get me wrong. But, and those guys, that meant a lot. So I think I learned a lot from those guys.
Well, you played for a bunch of managers that tried to turn the team around, whether it was Torrey, this was Torrey before he was given a good team to manage, Bamberger, Frank Howard, and then Davey. I mean, when you had Bambi and Frank Howard, I know Frank Howard's more of an interim because Bamberger quit mid-season. Yeah. What was the dichotomy like? I mean, did they know what type of team they had, that they were pretty much mediocre teams that they had and they were just trying to get the best, or were they mailing it in?
I think Joe Torre is the one guy that I felt bad for. He just didn't have a team. He really didn't have a team, and he did a good job of what he had. And I think that when Mr. Bamberger came in, I think he didn't know what he was getting into. As we know, he quit in the middle of a game. Anybody? No one knows the Bamberger story. Anybody know the Bamberger story? Well, we going to L.A. And when we went to the West Coast back those days, you go for like 14 days. It was 14 days of losing. That's what it was. But at least it was warm. If you're gonna lose, you might as well lose in California. I don't know what to do. But you lose and go to the beach. Hey, but whatever. But we're in L.A. and we go in and take batting practice like a normal day. Everyone's out taking their routine batting practice. And after the batting practice, we go inside. So they call a meeting. Bambi called a meeting. We call a meeting. Okay, we're going to go over the pictures and the cat. No. We're going to go over that kind of stuff. Bambi plays sitting there waiting for Bambi. Bambi comes out of his office. All right, boys, I'm going fishing. Quit! Right there. We look at each other like, what just happened? And Bambi quit on us right there and then. And I say that because I don't know, he may have been ill. I don't, but we kind of talked him into getting the job in the first place.
Yeah,
I think
that's what it was with Frank Cashier, because
yeah.
they had the connection from
Yeah,
Baltimore.
they had a connection. But anyway, Bambi quit right before the game, and Frank Howard took over, was the interim manager there for a little while. And Frank, God bless my team, one of the greatest coaches I've been around.
Yeah.
Not a good manager, but a great coach. And I say that because he was so into motivating guys and keeping guys up
Very
that
hardworking.
he forgets to do his managing thing. And one of the greatest, best coaches I've ever been around was Frank Howard. And I tell you what, if they had more coaches like him in the game, it would be better.
Oh.
But around that time, you also broke in with Hubie Brooks.
Yes.
I mean, you two were pretty much considered the cornerstones of the team at that time. And I think there was a very good friendship between the two.
Outstanding.
I mean, when he was actually traded in '85, I mean, did that pretty much rip you up when they got Carter?
Yeah, we traded Hubie for Gary Carter. When we traded Hubie, I almost quit. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't. But anyway, Hubie and I were that close. We came up through college together. We came through the minor leagues together. We were roommates. We were actually roommates my first year in New York. He was my best man. I had about 40 best men, but he was one of them. I'll explain that to y'all later. People laughing on what they're laughing about. That's okay. Don't worry about it. And then when he got married, I was his best man. And Hubie and I were really close. And as good a player as Gary Carter was, and as much as I know we needed a guy like Gary Carter, if they had asked me which guy that I wanted to keep, I would have said Hubie. It would have been a personal thing because we were so close. But Hubie was a terrific ball player, and we thought we were going to be together forever. But that's one thing sports teaches you, is that relationships, they come and go, and if they're meaningful, you remain friends, but you're never going to always play together. But we were very close right to the very day. Hubie and I are really, really close. But he was a good friend. He was a really, really good friend.
Well, when that trade was made, those of us who were around then, following this club, Hubie was like one of the stars of the team. He was a solid guy. He was a favorite fan as well. And, when they heard Gary Carter for him, and Floyd Yeomans went in that deal, but everybody's going, wow, we got Gary Carter. But a lot of Met fans were like, yeah, but we gave up Hubie. Hubie was a fan favorite. He was, he was a solid. And when he went to Montreal, his career really took off. I mean, he really played well. Yeah. But, you mentioned getting Gary Carter. What was it like when Keith Hernandez joined the team? Because when Keith first came here, he wasn't a happy camper.
Well, understand, when Keith came, Keith wasn't a happy camper. When Gary came, the team wasn't very happy. Yeah. And I say that because, and hear this out before you start, making judgment of what I'm saying. Gary was not a liked guy. Watching people looking at me like,
I got you back,
okay.
man.
You got my back. Okay.
I got you.
See, Gary was on the other team. And as athletes, you have to find something that you don't like about the other team. We call that motivation. You get a motivation. I want to beat this guy because I don't like him. And for no particular reason, and a perfect example is most of you Mets fans, you can't stand the Yankees. You don't know why, you just don't like them. You don't know why, they've never done anything to you, you just don't like them. They have won and you don't like them. Well, Gary was good, and in our minds we were saying no man can be that happy all the time. So that was reason enough, we couldn't say anything about his game because he was good. Maybe that was the other thing too. He always beat us, but and so the team we traded Hubie for Gary. When you bringing that guy over here? Nobody want Gary over here. Blah blah blah. But not knowing that was the beginning of another beautiful relationship. But at the time, Hubie was a guy, right? People didn't want to see Hubie leave. He was outstanding.
He was.
And got mad, you had Hubie and you had Mookie.
Hubie and Mookie.
Great combination.
You also had two, because the Mets couldn't find a third baseman to save their lives.
No.
And they finally, when they got Hubie, it was like, oh man, we got ourselves a third baseman. After 43 guys have tried out there, we found. So like you say, then when he goes for Gary, but then you told us what goes on inside.
Hubie was the package. He could hit, he could run, he could play defense. I mean, he went over there, and he became like they moved back to shortstop when in Montreal,
Right.
and the 100 RBI.
Yeah, that's what.
I mean,
He
he
had
was
the glove.
probably the best two-strike hitter I've ever played against and played with. He's one of
Yeah.
the best I've seen.
He was a solid player.
Solid player.
In '82, they brought in George Foster via trade. I know it was Alex Trevino was traded for him, and I forgot who else we shipped off. But Foster never obviously fulfilled his potential that Cashin thought he was going to take, because that was supposed to be his first major trade.
Yeah.
How was, because I've always heard conflicting stories about Foster in the clubhouse, you know, about how he used to seem to dog it in outfield. I mean, was he able guy to get along with? Was there a perception that he was better than you? I mean, or
No, and that's a very good thing, because I think a lot of players get the wrong tag. And George Foster was probably one of the most misunderstood guys ever. He was very devoted to the game. He was very devoted to his craft. George had one major flaw, and people don't like honesty. And George was extremely honest to a fault, you know. And George was extremely honest. And as far as him dogging it, never. I mean, what you thought you were getting? You brought a guy in to hit home runs. You didn't bring a guy in to save games with his defense or his base running. They didn't do that. And so to expect that when he came in was a bit unrealistic. Now, on the other hand, you brought him in to hit home runs. Understand that he was still a good hitter, but his power numbers didn't show because hitting in Shea as opposed to hitting in
Cincinnati.
where the ballpark is. Most of you guys probably could have hit home runs in Cincinnati, but you know. And that's the thing there. You know, there was conflict, but the conflict was not with players. It was conflict with management, and that was it. So people don't know he didn't hit the 50 home runs in Shea that they thought he was going to hit, but no one else has either. So that goes for that.
But fast forward to '85.
Okay.
And obviously, you know, Gooden was in his second year. He was one of the dominant pitchers ever on record that year. You guys, it's going down to the last week of the season against St. Louis.
Yeah.
How much did you guys hate St. Louis? Because I know in '86, that I believe it was April or May, I made a bet with my gym coach that the Mets were going to sweep the St. Louis Cardinals. I think in St. Louis, if I did, I could get out of gym for the rest of that year. I won the bet.
Yeah.
But I mean, was that motivation?
It's funny. We did not like St. Louis, but it was a different kind of dislike. Like, I didn't dislike the Dodgers. I hated the Dodgers. All right. And that was a difference. You know, St. Louis, there was a conflict in playing styles. All right. And there was always this tension between us, but it was from a professional, standpoint. It wasn't anything personal there. And it's just like I didn't like the Yankees, Well, let's change that. I hated the Yankees. Okay. All right. But there again, they were winning, we were losing, so I had no reason to like them, But with St. Louis, it was different. It was different. It was a kind of a love-hate relationship. It was almost like we can't exist unless we play you guys. Nothing in our season means anything unless we play and beat you guys. That's the relationship was with St. Louis. It was different. Yeah. It was different. St. Louis was a tremendous city. And I will say this, and you guys can throw stones at me later, but I always thought that if I had been with that St. Louis team, I would have died and gone to heaven. And let me say that because they played my type of ball. They were all runners, man. I mean, they steal bases. I mean, they played little ball. That's what I did for a living. And that's for that reason alone. Don't get me wrong, playing in New York is the greatest place in the world to play. Don't let anybody fool you. I've been in a lot of different cities, in a lot of different places, but New York, the fans are so passionate with the game, and so when you boo us, we understand. We understand, and it's not like going to other cities. We go on the road and people boo us. They boo us because they don't like us. But when we were in New York, we got booed because they want so much for us to do well.
It's not personal. It's
no,
business.
it's not. Yeah. People boo you, and then you go out and say, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?"
Yeah,
that's just the way it is.
That's it, yeah.
And that's New York.
Exactly.
And anybody that comes and play here, they don't understand that. They're not going to be successful. They're just not going to be making. That's New York.
It's the way it runs.
Well, when did you first start getting? When did the boos start turning to moos? And when did you know they were calling you moo?
I don't know, because you can't boo, 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 boo. You can't tell the difference. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I've heard sounds. When I'm playing and I'm in the game, you hear sound, but you can't distinguish what is being said. People say, "Did you hear me cheering for you?" Yes, I did. Yeah. I was right behind the home plate. Okay.
Oh, you were the guy.
Yeah. But it's funny. I've always loved New York. I love the fans. I've always had a great relationship with the people in New York. I know I've given some of them heart attacks, not knowing what it's going to do next. I'm very unpredictable. But you have to admit, it was always fun trying to figure it out.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
You talk about the team was pretty bad. The organization and everything was like in disarray. But now all of a sudden comes 83, 84. Things are changing. Things are changing for the better here.
Things are changing.
Guys are coming up. Strawberry, Wally, who'll be here later. We have Doc.
Yeah.
Darling comes over in the trade.
Yeah.
Now, when you go into spring training, it's like 83. Davey takes over?
Yeah.
Big change.
Yeah, big change.
How did it feel going into that, like say 83 spring training to 84 like that? What was the feeling amongst the guys?
When the organization transition, there is what we call this learning curve. So you have to find out what you have and what we need to do to get to maximize the talent. We were still losing in 82 and 83, but we were in games and we were losing differently now. We were losing, but with a chance to win. Before, we were losing with no chance to win. There's a big difference. When we walked on the field the first Sunday, okay, we lost. Let's play it out. It's a sad way of thinking, but I'm telling you, it was that bad. Yeah. It was that bad. It wasn't about, whether we were going to lose or not. It was how we were going to lose. It's, and that stuff. But in 83, we were in game 7. They weren't losing games until the end, and guys weren't giving up. We had young guys, and we were really starting to come together. So you can kind of see the dynamics of the team changing. We go to spring training, and every spring training they're going to give you this big speech about, we're going to win X amount of games, we're going to do this, we're very competitive. Who you lying to? We weren't playing no ball game. Come on. The ball players over there say, who he fooling? But in 83, we really thought that we were starting to develop something that was going to be special. We didn't know how good it was going to be because we're still unknown. Yeah. We're still unknowns. But we know the difference in the clubhouses. We know guys were eager to come to the ballpark. They weren't in a hurry to leave, the ballpark. So we started seeing the whole dynamics of the team change. The mental aspect of the team was just changing. And all of a sudden now, I came in 81, I seeing guys, Mike Jurgensen, Bruce Bouclair, and guy Ron Hodges. I'm looking over there, so now, 2 years later, I'm starting seeing guys that was my age now. Hey, we can kind of like communicate. And things started looking good. And I'm not saying that they're down. Those guys, great guys, by the way. They're great guys. I never developed a real relationship with those guys as I did the guys with. But I played minor league ball with these other guys. We went through the trenches together. Exactly. So we had a lot in common. We understood what losing was. We understood what struggles were. We understood what making $500 a month meant. So, we understand that this was our chance. So it was.
Well, that's kind of similar to the team that the Mets have today. Yeah. Most of these kids have come up together. Yeah. So if you've won at that level, in lower levels, now you're coming up together. You start to say, hey, you remember back in 2010 when we won that Eastern League title? Why can't we do that again here? Yeah, man, we were good enough to do it.
We can do it
now. That gets me to another thing. I love the mental part of baseball. I think that's the biggest part.
That's it. You and I, we right here.
All right. I knew that.
Okay.
Physically, guys, but the mental part.
Yeah.
And this is what gets me with this current team. Do they have that? Are they ready to take that mental part where they're saying, listen, like you say, you knew there was days
Yeah.
when you went on the field and said, we ain't got a chance.
Yeah.
Does this team, I want to know, like, when does it click in on the mental part when you say, whoa, wait a minute. No, we're as good. We're good as it. We're better than them.
Yeah.
And we can go out and play any team and beat them. How do you think that this current team, that team, do you think that are they getting that? Because I haven't seen it last few years. Right?
Okay. All right.
And I'm waiting to get that. I think when that happens, then we're going to have big things here.
Yeah. But is this a test? That's the first thing I'm asking. Is this a test? Is this a test?
No, there's no test.
Okay. Is this
You passed the test years ago, man.
Is this a job interview? That's the next thing.
No, I don't own nothing here, man. Believe me, if I own this team, you be right there with me, buddy.
All right. Okay. What you're saying is absolute truth. There are two stages that you go through. Physical ability, you can go out in the minor leagues right now and get 100 guys that has the physical ability to play in the big leagues. They have the physical ability. The difference comes in is the mental part of the game, and that is making that adjustment not year to year, but day to day, because that's how quickly you have to make adjustments a lot of times. And until you get those guys that can do that, and you don't know who those guys are until you put them out there and let them. Fail and battle test it, and you see what you have. Not necessarily see if they can win or lose, but how do they adjust? Right. How do they handle losing? How do they handle the scrutiny? How do they handle the blues? How do they handle an article that was written about them? How are they going to handle that stuff? Because that is going to determine how good a ball player they're going to be. And I think you have guys that they've been there and they can help each other. And I'm a firm believer. You build a team around a core group of guys, not one guy. Core group of guys. If you can think back to any organization that's been successful in a length of time, there's always 3 or 4 guys that's been together. It's never one guy. Not in baseball. Basketball, you might get away with it. Baseball just don't happen that way. And until you can do that, because I don't care how good you are, you're going to have a bad day. Your hopes is 4 guys or 5 guys don't have a bad day at the same time. And I think until you can get guys that's able to work together and not only have confidence in my abilities, but also having confidence in your abilities, right. Because that's you hear people throw the word chemistry around a lot. That's all chemistry is. It's just my respect in your ability to do your job. And now I can concentrate on doing my job. And that's where we are right now. Young guys we have now, talent-wise, we have talent. We have talent. I think everybody was up in uproar last year when Sandy said, well, we can win 90 ball games. Oh, okay, we had talent to win 90 ball games.
It's
but
the mentality.
We're mentally ready to win
90 games.
And I'll tell you something else. It's the long season. I had this conversation with a young guy 2 years ago. And he said, I won't call his name.
Tell me later.
But I'll tell you later. And we were talking. He's having a pretty good year, and stuff like this. And he said, yeah, I started off like this last year. He said, I got to learn now how to maintain the second half of the year, which means he's got to learn how to play tired. He's got to learn how to play maybe a little banged up. He's got to learn how to adjust to teams that have seen him now. So he has to learn how to do that. See, understand in the minor leagues, you see a guy today, you may not see that guy again because he may be moving or whatever. But when you see the same guy every other week, they begin to understand your tendencies, your habits, good and bad, and they exploit them. Now, in minor leagues, they may see it, but they can't do anything about it. But in big leagues, they can. Everybody talking about this sophomore jinx. Right. Sophomore jinx, that's all the sophomore jinx is that the league has adjusted to you. Now you have to adjust to the league. That's all it is. And the guys that refuse to adjust used to have bad second years. That's all it is. So it's all about, it's here. It has nothing to do with physical ability. That guy can't hit. Yes, he can hit. He just don't know what he's going to do now to make his ability work.
He can't make that 0 for 4 be 0 for 8 and 0 for 12.
He don't know how to turn, he don't know how to stop for lack of a better term, the snowball from rolling. Right. He don't know how to stop the bleeding. And this is what you do. You got to just old saying, okay, I went 0 for 4. I got to get that one hit or that one base on ball to keep me alive. That's all that is. So instead of going 0 for 4, 0 for 3. Instead of going 0 for 5 and 1 for 4. That's all you need a lot of times as opposed to, well, I went 0 for 3. Let me go up and throw in the next one. I went 0 for 4. Big deal. What's the difference?
That's it, yeah.
Well, starting in '86, you started off the season on disabled list because of a freak accident, spring training. Mm-hmm. I mean, what went through your head? I mean, because I remember seeing that was on a constant loop during the news cycle at that point. I believe it was during a base running.
You say what went through my head?
I mean, other than the baseball.
Baseball.
I mean,
Baseball almost
But
went
you
through
were
my
out
head.
for what? You were out for at least the first 2 months of the season?
Yeah.
And Lenny Dykstra pretty much took over until you were fully convalesced. Did you feel like you had to fight to get that position back, and when it was pretty much almost a platoon where you kind of...
Before the injury, the platoon system was going to be in place. And, not by my design, but I think that the organization had decided. Now, who in the organization, I don't know. I've been asking that for about 20 years. I haven't got the answer yet. But anyway, they had decided that it was going to be a platoon situation, which to me was totally made no sense whatsoever. How many switch hitters get platoon?
Not many.
That's why you were a switch hitter.
I thought that's why I did dumb things.
Yeah,
Waste
I know.
my time. But anyway, I think the platoon system was already in place. My concern now was getting back on the field. I knew I would have to work my way back, but I knew it wasn't going to be every day because that was already decided long before the injury came. I knew that. I had some conversations with management a little bit about that kind of stuff. So, that was going to happen.
But going through that season, obviously, start off the season, the team lost the first 4 games, if I remember right, of the season. Then they rebounded, and obviously you steamed through the competition for the most part. Is there one game before heading into the playoffs that just sticks out in your mind saying, wow, we are better than I ever expected?
I think it's one series. I think when you go back and when we played St. Louis, I mean, because to me, St. Louis was the benchmark for excellence. That was the organization you had to beat. We could have beat the Yankees, we could have beat anybody else, but it wouldn't have made any difference until we beat St. Louis. This was our thorn that we had to get rid of. We had to exercise the demon of why it hurts. They would play this chess match, and we had to do that. And I think St. Louis series was it. None of the other games really matter. Honestly, if you're talking about a team, St. Louis was the organization we had to beat.
But the Astros did play you guys hard that entire
The
year.
Astros matched up with us very well.
Right.
In terms of talent, pitching, we were mirror images of each other. The Astros. That's why it was so tough when we played them. St. Louis was totally opposite, and that's what was that was stuck. We just couldn't get it out of our heads.
Well, I have to bring this up. Obviously, you weren't involved, but when you guys learned of the brawl in Cooters,
Okay.
what went through your head?
Why you didn't want to bring that up?
How did you bring up
Why you
1986
don't
and not
want to bring
bring
that up?
He's a troublemaker. He's a troublemaker.
And see, a lot of things that happen, it happens when you really can't control what other people do. I wasn't there, but I had a very good friend who was, which is, tough. He was there. They went out celebrating a celebration for Topher.
Right, his son gave birth.
Yeah, just gave birth. Went out celebrating. That's all. It was simple things. But when you were an 86 Met, people hated you. People literally hated you if you're an 86 Met. That's just all it was to it. And they got caught up in a situation where, I guess unclothed policeman or whatever, blah, blah, and they made a big to-do out of the whole thing. And it was it's unfortunate. And if you talk to any one of those guys, they wish it hadn't happened. But it's not something that they started. But it was unfortunate at the time, and it was coming in at a bad time.
But in your wildest dreams, did you ever think, wow, this is the team we're going to be playing tooth and nail 3 months later in the playoffs?
No, but we knew they were good. They loved it because they made a lot of money selling T-shirts. They were selling T-shirts about this, But no, we knew that they were good, but we didn't know how far they were going to go. We knew that. Like I said, believe it or not, the only team that we really paid a lot of attention to was St. Louis, because that was a team that we knew we had to get rid of. The other team in the other division, we really didn't care. Mm-hmm. We really did not care. but we probably should have paid more attention to them. It was one of the greatest series I've ever been in. I'll be honest with you.
Steve?
Well, then that brings us to the World Series.
Okay.
And the famous at-bat that we all won, Game 6. When I look at that at-bat, I mean, we all love the wild pitch, we all love you roll it down the first base line, but I think what gets lost, that was a 10-pitch at-bat.
10.
10-pitch
I
at-bat.
could go a whole week and don't see 10 pitches.
I know. I mean, you were a free. I'm not talking out of turn. You're a free swinger.
I was a free swinger.
That was a 10. That's a
10
tremendous at bat.
Yes.
Take us through this. It's 2 outs. Wally and Keith make the 2 outs.
Yeah.
What's going on in that dugout? We know Davey's sitting back there sharpening roll aids, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 outs. The Red Sox are 1 out away from winning this thing. The thing comes up on the Shea scoreboard. Congratulations, and then came off fast.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're going through. In your mind, what's going on when you come up there?
You know, we know that we probably still had a change.
Yeah.
There's no question about when the top of that inning started and they had gone up a couple of runs. We still think we had. We had our spark plug leading off. We had Wally up there. You know, we wasn't worried. Somebody was going to do something to get on. And Keith, every dependable Keith.
Right.
We felt pretty good about it. Wally makes an out. Keith makes it out. Then you look back and you see Davey head going against the wall like this. You know, he's probably trying to figure out, okay, how I'm going to explain this to the press now. That's probably what he's figuring out. Getting all the stories together so it line up.
The roll aids, everything.
And I just left for breakfast and they showed that, and you look along that whole dugout, and everybody was saying, wow. I mean, I'm saying, we blew it. I mean, you know, we blew it. Plain and simple. But I mean, this is the attitude that's going on now. Now, some people will probably tell you we knew he was going to do. That's a lie. They didn't know no such thing. No way. But you know, and Gary gets up. Gary gets 2 strikes. Okay, well, Gary gets a hit. Okay, we got 1 hit. Big deal, 1 hit. We down 2 runs. Yeah. Gary gets a hit. You know, then come up. You know, then Mitchell, 2 strikes. He gets 2 hits. Maybe
wait a minute.
Might be something. Wait a minute. So now we say, okay, we still. Gary's on second base. Okay, it's gonna take a pretty good ball. Gary will not what the speed they
You have to hit the McFadden's to get a home run.
But anyway, next hit, Mitchell gets the hit. You know, Arena gets hits, and Gary chugs around. He scores. Imagine that. He scores. We're doing okay.
Oh,
man. But things starting to pick up, and you can see and you can feel that the energy is picking up a little bit.
Well, you start to see Schiraldi getting a little nervous.
Schiraldi, that was the big mistake, is bringing in Schiraldi. That was the big mistake, and I know that Boston people are still arguing now whether why they took Clemens out, should they have taken him out, why you bring Schiraldi in. It's all kinds of stories flying around about what actually happened that day.
What could have,
You know, I got the inside story. I got the inside story from a very reliable source. Okay, but anyway, you know, we were kind of happy to see Schiraldi because he was with us.
He was former.
He was one of us, and we felt that we were very familiar with him anyway. And I'm going to say this, and this is not a criticism of Schiraldi, but it's the way we were thinking. We felt that we were good with Schiraldi because we knew what talent Schiraldi had. But one thing that caused him to be traded in the first place was they didn't think he had.
That's it.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know, that was the thing right there, and we felt that's in our favor. You know, he had done a great job with Boston, but this was a different stage. This is New York.
55,000
This
people.
is New York.
In a shaking stadium.
Shea Stadium was shaking.
Was shaking. The field was shaking. You know. So when all that happened, and then he got the first 2 hits, and then Ray Knight come up, he gets 2 hits, and he gets the hit. You know, I mean, what am I supposed to do?
You're up there in a big
what
spot.
am I supposed to do? I mean, I'm up here,
We're in a big
we're
spot.
losing, And I was in the spot that every kid dreamed of being in. Every kid wants to be that guy. Every kid wants to be that guy until they get that spot. Then all of a sudden, okay, where's that pitch hitter been using all year? Where's that pitch hitter? I've been looking around, nobody getting up. I guess it's me.
You're the man.
Yeah. So, but anyway, after all of that, I'm thinking to myself, whatever you do, I wasn't saying just get a base hit. I was saying don't strike out.
Put the ball in play.
Just put the ball in. Just don't strike. Mookie, whatever you do, this is not the time for you to strike out. Don't strike out. And I tell you, if I'd had that attitude all year, man, I'd probably be in the Hall of Fame.
I'd put you. I'd vote for you. That's how you gotta think.
That's
The
how I
mental
don't think.
part.
The mental part. And
You got it.
I think I took the game too much as a game. I just say, hey, let's go up there and have fun, man. This man gonna throw you 5 pitches. You better swing at 3 of them.
No, you got your cuts.
I
yeah.
got my cuts
yeah,
in. I got my cuts in. It wasn't for the lack of effort.
No, that's
But
for
anyway,
sure. That's for
and
sure.
the guy was throwing. I had my mind made up, and I actually took a couple pitches that were kind of balls, and I was proud of myself. Yeah.
Good eye. Good eye.
I didn't hear the fans or anything. I was like I've never been as focused in my life.
Yeah.
I was as focused as I've ever been in my life. And I was fouling off pitches that, usually it's like, one pitcher either hit it in the end or 3 pitches I'm sitting in the dugout, 1 to 3. I mean, there's 1 or 2 things happen.
Yeah.
But that day was special. That day was special. Some people say, well, do you think it was divine intervention? I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. It may have been.
God loves you.
Because there's nothing happened that day that you can write a script
Yeah.
for. There's nothing happened. It's not like Boston made an error here, they walked the guy here. None of that happened. This was legitimate hits.
Yeah.
Legitimate hits.
With 2 outs. With 2 outs. 2 outs.
If I was pitching, I can get somebody out with 2.
Well, you were a great pitcher.
Yes.
Until they changed into an outfield.
I could get somebody out. But anyway, let's go on. but anyway, I'm thinking just don't strike out. Put the ball in play. The greatest thing that could have happened was the wild pitch.
Yeah, Bob Stanley.
Kevin Mitchell scored, I think.
Man, when he threw that wild pitch, man, I was like,
How did you get out of the way of that pitch? Because if that hits you, it's bases loaded.
let me tell you something. If I was taught to just don't get hit, that ball hurts, man.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody put it.
Oh.
And I've seen college coaches have guys lean in the ball and get hit. You some kind of fool. You
No,
think I'm
no,
going to
no.
get hit?
That ball's hard.
No.
It's not a sponge ball.
No. It happened. Stick no. Nah. It happened. But anyway, I was actually cheating because Stanley's pitch was the sinker.
Right.
So I was actually looking away.
Down.
I was looking away. That
Down
ball
away,
going
right.
away because I've been thinking they're going to play me to the direction he's going to be pitching. So that's it. Which, by the way, is why Billy Buck was out of position in the first place. He was off the line.
Yeah.
But anyway, sinks away. I'm looking at it. So when I saw the ball coming inside, I panicked. Yes, I panicked. So I just getting out the way. The ball would not have hit me.
No.
The ball wouldn't have hit me.
When it came down, like it bounced.
Yeah, it did. No, I think the catch was expecting something away also. And when the ball came inside, kind of caught him off guard, and he just didn't get there in time.
Yeah.
They're still arguing about whether it's a pass ball or wild pitch. I don't know. They're in Boston. I don't care.
Tying run scored. That's all we care
That's
about.
all we care. And when the ball, wild pitch, pass ball, whatever, it depends on where you live. But when it went by and Mitchell scored, I mean, I had nothing to lose.
No.
If I had struck out, nobody would say a word to me.
Tie game. I mean,
The score's tied.
that pitch takes the pressure off.
I came up to the plate, we're down a run. I'm at the plate, the score is still, now it's tied. What I'm on? I can't lose, man.
You're good.
I'm playing with house money.
That's it. Exactly.
I'm playing house money.
Exactly.
So, and that really took a lot of pressure, but I still did not want to strike out. It was a matter a pride with me not wanting to strike. I didn't care about making outs. I can care less. I never did.
Put the ball in
Never
play.
did. Just
You
put the
wanna
ball in play. Never
Exactly.
did. Contrary to what my record shows, folks, I didn't like striking out. All right. I know it appears I may have done it on purpose, but I didn't. It just happened that way. But I will say this: I think maybe only once in my career I struck out 100 times. Only once in my career. Now strikeout's acceptable. I should be playing today.
That's the difference today.
That's the difference.
Guy can strike out 150, 160
No big
times.
deal. Don't care.
I don't get it.
Don't care. I mean,
You understand it? I don't get it.
It infuriates me to see guys strike out.
Yeah.
And I did a
Put
lot
it in
of it, so
play.
I've experienced striking out. I know what it feels like.
But not like that.
But not like that. No. I don't do that kind of
Never.
mess.
And you weren't striking out in that at bat.
No, that wasn't happening.
The mental part of the
The
game.
mental
man.
part of the game.
You were strong.
Mental part of the game. But anyway, I ended up hitting a ground ball, which is a pitch I really should have handled. But I guess because I was looking away that I didn't get the pitch, because the pitch down and in was my strength, and I missed it. But I'm glad I did. Because let's face it, if I had just hit a single, that's not memorable. Nobody remembers a single. Who remembers a single?
No. But a roller down the first
But
base
a roller
line
down the
gets
first base
pissed.
line.
No.
Not that big. That's what I'm talking about.
There you go.
I see it.
Got the whole scorecard right
Yeah.
here.
So I'm enshrined on T-shirts.
But Mookie, somebody sent me an email, and it was actually a very good question. Obviously, that's one of the most memorable moments of your career. One person wanted to know, what did you do when you got home from Game 6? Because that's a question that nobody ever answers. Were you wired? Did you go directly to bed? Did you have to watch TV? What type of state were you in?
Well, I don't even remember getting home, but I was so wired. I didn't realize we had won until the next morning. I didn't hit until the next morning. That game took a lot out of us.
Right.
I mean, because first of all, we weren't supposed to win that game. Statistically, we weren't supposed to win that ball game, and we did. And if we weren't destined to win it, and I don't believe in that destined thing, but you have to think now. Come on. But it took me a while. I mean, I don't even know what time I went to bed. If I went to bed, I don't even know. I don't remember anything other than that ball game.
And the next day, when you got, actually Game 7 was rained out,
Yeah,
I think.
rained
and you had to
out, yeah.
So when you played in Game 7, you guys, I think Darling,
Yeah.
you gave a bunch of runs, you were down. Did you guys still feel like you were out, or did you feel like we could come back from this?
Oh, Game 7 was just a formality. We could have played. We could have played the game in the hotel. We would have made no difference. We won that game. There was a big difference in the attitude of the team between those two games.
Yeah.
Game 7, there's nothing that Boston could have done that would have made any difference. There's nobody they could have pitched that would have made any difference. It didn't make a difference if Ronnie started, Doc started, Bobby Ojeda started, or I started. We were going to win that ball game. It's just the way it was. It's amazing how the attitude makes a difference in the outcome of the game. Right. Because when you do something and you do it with conviction, good things are going to happen.
That's right.
It's good things will happen.
Belief in oneself.
You have to believe.
Yeah, you gotta believe.
You gotta
That's-
believe.
that's-
That's tough, man. I love that. You gotta believe, and it's true.
the truth.
You have to believe in what you do, and you have to believe that your teammates are going to come through for you. At the time when needed. We can't go day to, one day, this day dictates what I do tomorrow. No. When you start letting one day dictate what you do tomorrow, we're setting ourselves up to fail. And that's what young players have to understand. It's not what I do today that always counts. It's how am I prepared for tomorrow? And a lot of times what you do today prepares you for tomorrow.
Right, you learn from what, like you said before earlier, you learn from mistakes.
That's what you do.
Go to the next one.
what you do.
In Game 7, Ronnie Darling starts.
Yeah.
Gets in a little trouble.
Okay.
Second inning. Now Sid Fernandez comes in.
Yes.
To me, Sid is the unsung hero of that
Yeah.
World Series. He doesn't get the attention, but
No.
Game 3 came in Boston, settled everything down, and then he pitched again. Three 2/3.
Yeah. See it?
So and he settled it all down too. And then late in the game, you score like 8 runs in 3 innings. Like you said, but you guys knew
Yeah. We knew.
that
But this team was a team that we didn't have to rely on 2 pitchers or 3 pitchers. Sid Fernandez, for one, Aguilera. People don't know how great Aguilera was.
Yeah.
People don't understand and remember how good he was, you know. And we had those guys. You know, we had two closers, Roger McDowell and Jesse.
Yeah.
You know, and the other guy who people, I know you guys probably had a rough year here, but let me tell you something. But Doug Sis was awesome. He was awesome. But I think that the city got to him a little bit, and it really played with his mind a little bit. He never was, he couldn't shake that booing and stuff. And that happens to a lot of people. He's very caring now, which is something you don't understand about those guys. As the rough exterior that you think all these guys have, they were very passionate in their hearts and very sensitive. And some guys couldn't handle it, some guys couldn't, and Dougie was one that didn't do it. But we had a great team. It was a great team.
Up and down. I mean, you know, and it's like the next year, the trades happened.
Well, next year, somebody had this brilliant idea that team wasn't good enough.
Kevin Mitchell, who was a big player there.
Let's don't talk about Kevin Mitchell.
Well, you know,
I get frustrated when we talk about
love Kevin Mitchell.
I love Kevin Mitchell.
I love the fact that Davey would play him at shortstop when Sid pitched. Because you know, what's he going to get? 2 ground balls?
If that, lucky.
Yeah. But his bat is in there.
His bat is in there.
Mental game.
You gotta
Thinking.
think.
Now he is traded. Now Kevin McReynolds come. Now like we talked about Hubie.
Yeah.
Now here's another guy coming in, and you're like, wait a minute, we just won.
Yes.
Why are we making moves? Ray Knight doesn't come back.
Ray Knight doesn't come back.
Big contributor.
Yeah.
Now, tell me the mindset now. In '87, coming, you're all on a high. He's winning.
Man, you got me starting the wrong
I know
thing.
I do.
We're gonna ride this to the end.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Hey,
Okay.
we got all the water we need, right?
Okay.
We're good.
Understand that it takes more than talent to win a championship, folks. Just take my word for it. If talent was all you needed to win championship, Detroit probably would have won 2 years in a row because they really were talented, you know. And San Francisco would have won the year that St. Louis. Come on, St. Louis had no business beating San Francisco. So that proves to me that you need something other than talent to win. Kevin Mitchell, Ray Knight, they gave us that other thing. They gave us that other thing. They gave us that toughness. They gave us that daringness that we needed to complete the team. People said, well, you still should have won. Yeah, we had the talent to win, but we were missing important parts of the lineup. We were missing important parts of the psyche of that team. I don't think we ever recovered from losing Kevin Mitchell. The team, this organization never recovered from losing Kevin Mitchell. Kevin Mitchell probably meant more to this team than anyone cared to admit. Now, Ray Knight was Kevin Mitchell, a little calmer, but it's the same go get it, you know, you push me, I'm gonna push you and your sister. That was Ray Knight. Half the fights we had, Ray Knight started them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but he was that good, he was that presence. I hate to use the word enforcers, but that's what they were. Hey, you messing with me, I got Mitch, I got Ray Knight. Now what you gonna do?
Were you surprised though that Kevin Mitchell actually turned into the player that he did?
No, and the Mets aren't surprised either. The Mets thought they were protecting other players, and as far as we're going to go with that, okay? They thought they were protecting other players. They misevaluated Kevin Mitchell. They really did. They would never admit it, but they did. And it hurt us for the next 3 years. It really did. Kevin McReynolds was a great guy. He's the guy that I invite to dinner every Sunday afternoon. He is. He really is. But he is not the guy I'm bringing to New York to win a championship.
Yeah.
It's a
Excellent player. Excellent player, too. He put up some nice
Oh,
numbers.
he was a great player.
Put up some nice
good
numbers
player.
here.
Good player.
But again, like you said, coming to New York was
It just
wasn't
wasn't.
for him.
He played his heart out, but when the last out was done, he had 1 foot in the car
Yeah.
and the other in the dugout, so he was ready to go. But he was from Arkansas, I think it's from
Yes.
over there
Yeah.
in that place. And,
Big hunter.
Yeah, big hunter, and it just wasn't his cup of tea. And he just wasn't. He didn't fill that void that we needed.
Right.
He really didn't. We still had Lenny, we still had Wally for a little while anyway. Then they got crazy and they were gone. Then it got crazy and somebody else was gone.
Yeah, you.
Well, what about 1988? 88 had to be, even though you guys got all the way to the LDS, I mean, it must have been such a letdown to lose to the Dodgers, a team that you guys owned. I mean, were you guys just in shell shock when that home run was hit?
We were shocked. Two reasons I was shocked. Number one, I can't stand the Dodgers. Number one, I didn't mind losing anybody but the Dodgers. Don't lose to the Dodgers, whatever you do. And to a home run of Mike Scioscia. Mike Scioscia, of all people. You know, not to him, anybody but him. You know, but he hit it.
I still see it going
that hurt us, and I think we never regrouped.
And I know the next year in '89, you know, that was pretty much the beginning of the end. Things were starting to spiral. The team was not as good as it was. And by the trade deadline or right after, you were traded to the Blue Jays for Jeff Musselman.
Yeah, the '89 was pretty much, you know, kind of putting a seal on the end of the '86 team as that pretty much did it. And I think I was the last one. Was I the last? Probably the last one to go. Lenny was gone. Roger McDowell was gone.
But when you got that call, I don't know if
they just you know, they always say you know, you have to.
It's hard to follow the thinking too, because it was you and Lenny, and you guys were platooning.
Yeah.
And so they trade Lenny, then they trade you. They bring Juan Samuel, and he didn't like it here at all. So it didn't really make sense.
It didn't matter. You know, and now I'll tell you, see, the athletes are very sensitive, and we have ego that you would not imagine, but you guys know that, all right? we have ego. But they traded Lenny. First of all, I was shocked. So people don't know that I actually went to the manager and the GM, and I asked them to meet Lenny the full-time center field, let him play every day. People don't know that I had this conversation. They said, well, we're not going to do that. So I left it alone. So when Lenny was traded, well, you know me, I put two and two together, and I came up with four.
Okay, yeah.
But when they put two and two together, they came up with six.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah.
No. But anyway, they traded Lenny, so I said, okay. I'm saying to myself, probably in my own home, back in the saddle again. Oh yeah. But I know that sounds bad, but hey.
No, it's honest.
But I'm honest. And then when I heard, they're bringing in Juan Samuel, well, where is he going to play? He can't play second base anymore. We got second base covered.
There's no DH. There's no DH in the National
So where
League.
is this kid going to play? I'm saying to myself, where's he going to play? So I went around the whole thing, and I'm saying, no, that can't be it. And when it finally came down, and I saw him, you know, line up, Juan Samuel leading off, playing center field. Like, what? And that's when I think that's when the bottom really dropped down.
You kind of figured.
Because I think it not only affected me, I think it affected everybody in the organization at that time. Because you know I had a lot of, and I will say this, I had a lot of people that were loyal, you know, you know, to me for being around and accepting what I did and contributing when I, you know, the best I could.
Yeah.
And I thought they felt that, hey, this was going to start putting things back together, but it didn't work that way. So it hurt. And, you know, it was a mistake, but still the players still have to play the game.
But when you got that call, I don't know whether you spoke to Cashin, your agent, manager at the time, were you just taken aback that when you were notified that you've been traded and you pack your bags, you go to Toronto?
Well, see, this is where that's a funny story. I got 5 minutes?
You got all the time you need.
Okay. This is a funny story. We're in St. Louis, and the ballpark at that time, the hotel was right across the street from the ballpark. We stayed at the Marriott. If it's high enough, you could look down into Busch Stadium and see the right field. You couldn't see left field, you could see the right field. But anyway, we get ready to go to the ballpark that afternoon, and I got a phone call. And they told me, they said, Mookie, don't come to the ballpark. Stay in your room. Don't come to the ballpark. Stay in my room.
Yeah, give me a day off.
So I had enough days off. I knew that wasn't a problem. So I stayed in my room, and I watched a little bit of the game, most of it that I could, and on the radio and stuff. And then after the game, Joe McElvain called me to his room, and he said, after the game, you've been traded, and pack your bags, and they send a plane to pick you up. Private jet. I was important.
That's it. They
But
wanted you
anyway,
badly.
and so when I was traded, I didn't have an opportunity to say goodbye to any of the guys or anything. So they wished me off in the middle of the night. So I left and went to Toronto. And that was a little bit. Now, understand now, a couple months or so before that, I had asked them to trade me. I was in Cincinnati.
You kind of put the idea in.
I called them. I had told them to trade me 2 years before that, and they said we're never going to do it. This is what they said. So much for that never.
Never, yeah.
They're never
say
going to do
never.
it. We're not going to do it until we're ready. But anyway, and when it happened, then I was shocked because I never thought they would actually do it. Even though I asked for it, when it actually happened, I was shocked and I didn't know how to react. So basically, guys, be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. But and that's how that. So it wasn't a normal trade. I didn't have an opportunity to go through the whole good guy, man, good luck to you, blah blah blah. I saw no one when I left. All I saw was the cab driver and the plane. That was it.
It was swept off in the middle of the night.
Saw another night, man.
Well, Mookie, I can't thank you enough. This was great. I know everybody out here,
Yeah.
they enjoyed it.
I wish we had another hour. I wish we had another hour to talk to you.
Yeah.
And there's more panels. And again, I want to thank SNY for sponsoring us today. And just go back outside. Have a great time at the Queens Baseball Convention. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Big line waiting for you.
All right.